Hello DIY craft shoppers. Welcome to Craftshop to Go miniature rainbow yarn wall hangings. You should have gotten your kit. It looks kind of like this. And inside the kit you will have yarn bobbins, some cotton cord, a rectangle piece of felt, and that is it. You will need to supply scissors, a ruler, and hot glue. Okay. Let's get started. The first thing that you're going to do is you're going to take the cotton cords and lay them out in front of you. They're rubber banded, but it does not have any correlation to the length of the cord. So you're just going to lay them out according to size. Some of them might look very similar in size. Don't worry about that because you're just going to be yarn covering the cord a certain length. So don't worry about that, just as long as they're a little longer than the others. And I'm going to put them out according to length in front of me, just like that. Okay, take this out. Okay. The next thing you're gonna do is you're gonna decide what colors you want your rainbow to go in. So do you want, you're gonna get a variety of colors. You could have chosen your rainbow or you maybe just got a random container of different colors, which is okay. But you're just going to decide which colors you want in a row. So I have these 4 colors and I think my rainbow is gonna go here, 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 here. So could go pink. Yeah, something like that. All right, so that's what I've decided how my rainbow's gonna go. My shortest cord is gonna be white, next one's gonna be yellow, next one's gonna be orange, and the longest one is going to be pink. Okay, so now you are ready to cover the first cords. They're gonna be double-stranded. So you will I'm gonna start with yellow because I believe that's gonna be easier to see than the white. So I'm gonna set these colors aside. I'm gonna start with my second one. Now, you all should start with your first color. My first color is gonna be white, and it's gonna be hard to see to demonstrate how to cover the cords with white. So I am going to show you with the next color up, which will be yellow. You're going to take the cords in your hand, in your non-dominant hand. So I am right-handed, so I'm putting the cords in my left hand. Then you're going to take the end of the yarn bobbin, and the end is going to face going downward. So you're going to have the cords laying on your palm. You're going to rest the yarn along that way. You don't want it to go the same direction that you're working with. This is what you don't want to do. You want to make sure the yarn is going that way, in that direction, okay? The next step is you're going to wind your thumb around. You're going to pull this yarn. You're gonna hold this, tight, but also not, so that you can't pull any cord away. You're gonna wrap your thumb around that yarn. You're going to hold the cords with 2 fingers, doesn't matter which ones, it can be your forefinger and your thumb, it can be your middle finger, your thumb, it's totally up to you. And then you're going to grab that yarn from your thumb and push the cords through it. And you wanna still use your ring finger and your pinky finger to hold these 3 together. That's where you really wanna keep it tight. Okay, then you just cinch it up. Now it doesn't look like a knot yet, it just looks like the yarn is just looped around the cord, which it is, but when you do your second loop with your thumb, again, you're going to pull that away a little bit, push the cords in, grab it, with your fingers like that. It does take coordination, but be patient with yourself. And then you're going to pull it tight. Now, that's when the knot forms. And this does take coordination. Is going to be frustrating at first, but once you get the hang of it, you're gonna be a pro. It's gonna be super easy. Okay, so I'm gonna show it to you again, and I'm going to continue to show it to you as we work our way down this cord. So you're gonna just wrap your thumb around, you're gonna pinch it with your fingers and pull it away from your thumb, tuck the cords through, and then pull it tight. Okay, let's keep doing that. I'm not going to describe it, I'm just going to show it to you on the video as I do it. You're going to learn some really strong fine motor skills. It does take some coordination with all your fingers. Now, if you can find an easier way to create these loops around the cord, I support that. However you can get this yarn looped around the cords, that's your goal, that's your main goal. If you have an easier way to do it, then go for it. So as you're creating loops along the cord, you'll notice this seam. You want to try to keep your seam going straight. So it might have a tendency to twist, and all you have to do is just kind of, fuss with it a little bit to even it out and make it straight. Okay, so I'm going to continue covering this cord. Do a few more here. Maybe when you're first starting, when you're first learning how to wrap this cord, you just kind of use your whole hand to create a loop and pass it through, and then hold it down on the surface. I have this cardboard down because I'm going to be using hot glue, and I don't want to get the wood table full of glue. But that might be a good solution. So if you're having trouble, I'm going to move these down. If you're having trouble, here's another option. You can just make a big loop with your hand. Basically you just want this loop to be twisted like this. Okay, you just want to create a twist in the yarn like that. Then tuck it in, move the yarn over, hold this down with your whole hand, and then pull the string. Ooh, this is gonna be great. If you're having trouble with just the fingers action, I think this is a good solution. So here, I'm gonna show it to you again. You're going to just make a loop. You're gonna kind of use your hand to make that loop, like that, okay? Then you're going to place the cord inside the loop, move the loop over to the side of the cord, so you have one part of the loop on the underside and another part of the loop on the top. Hold it down with your hand really firmly so that when you pull the yarn and make that tight loop, it secures it to the... Okay, let's show that to you one more time. I'm gonna make a loop like this. Oops, like that. It does need to go a specific direction. Let's try it again, ready? I pull it out with my whole hand. I'm just gonna twist it down like that, place it in, move it over. And then I'm gonna hold it with both fingers and pull it tight. Ta-da, okay. There you go, that's another option. Okay, so now I have a good amount of seam here, or the yarn is covering a nice amount, maybe a couple inches. So what you're gonna do now is you're going to move those down the cord, okay? So that, because you eventually want to cover a good span of this cord. You have your handy dandy ruler, so you can measure, you can take it and measure 2 inches. You want 2.5 inches of cord that you're not going to be covering. And if you want to make a little mark, you can do that, but you could also just use the rubber bands that were included with your kit that were holding your cords together. I kind of like this idea because then it's not a permanent marker, but it is a marker to show where I want to stop with the yarn. So you're going to leave empty, some of the cord empty, and cover the center of the cord. So you have it, I measured, I placed my rubber band there. Now I'm going to just push this down until it reaches the rubber band. And I'm going to, see they get bunched together, so you're just going to kind of like use your fingers to kind of spread them out a little bit, okay? They can also be bunched, no biggie. And then that rubber band can just be moved. But I'm gonna leave it there for now just to make sure that my yarn doesn't go past. It doesn't go any farther than that 2.5 inches, okay? Now just continue, do the same for the top, but not quite yet, because it looks like I have quite a ways to go before I get to that 2.5 mark. So I will see you when this cord is complete. One thing I should mention is when you've pushed your groups down to the end where you want it, you aren't going to start looping back at the top. You're going to actually start looping from where your loops begin down here. Otherwise, it'll create big yarn loops when you start up here and then push down. So you're just going to hold it from where you've pushed what you've already covered down, and just hold it, and you're just going to be pushing more yarn through the loop, basically. Instead of a short piece, it's now going to be a long piece. So I just want to make sure you knew that. You don't want to, you want to start from where your loops are starting, not at the top again. Okay. As you work your way up from the base, you will notice that there are some gaps. There might be some gaps in where you're looping the yarn. It's really easy to fix that. You just take your hand and gently scooch them down towards the ones that are already there. You don't want to press too hard, because then they'll over bunch and you'll have the opposite problem, but you just kind of want to just gently smush them down. Okay, now we're back on track. I've completed the yellow cord, cord covering, and I wanted to show you the first one I did, which is the shorter one. The first one should be about 3.5 inches long, and then whatever is left over on the sides, you want equal cord that's bare on either side. So that's why I was mentioning that you should measure about 2.5 up from the base. This could be longer, so keep that in mind. And then your second one should be about 4.5 inches. So I'm showing you here, and this one is extending all the way to 5. So you don't have to necessarily undo these knots that you made. You can just scooch your knots down until you get to about 4.5. So I have here to about 4.5. And then while you're in the process of covering your cords, now you'll see there's a lot of cord left over on this end and on this end, so I should really have equal. So what I'm going to do is grab it with my whole hand and scooch it on down like that, and then I can remove this. This is not needed anymore. I'm going to remeasure just to make sure I'm about 4.5 inches. We're good to go. Keep that in mind. Now I have equal bare strands at both ends. You can play with your rainbow at this point and just see how it's looking as you bend them into a rainbow shape. I am really liking this, the way this is looking. This part down here doesn't have to be even just yet. We're going to even that out when at the very end we're going to cut it even. So don't worry too much about that. What you really want to make sure is that when you bend your yarns around like that they're pretty much even. So now you can continue with the next cords. I'm going to start on orange, so I will see you back in just a few minutes. All right, you should now have all four colors covering all 8 cords. The 2 of the shortest, this second longest, third longest, and 4th longest. So the lengths of yarn that you have wrapped the cord should be approximately 3.5, 4.5, 5.5, and 7. And I say approximately because they can be off by a little bit. It's not going to be a big deal, but you do want to have a visual great, when you lay them out flat, you want to be able to see that they have, this one's longer, this one's a little bit shorter, and then this is the shortest. You want that. You will notice that the lengths of the empty cord are different, and we will cut them even at the very end of the project. Okay, so I had just enough pink to cover the longest cord that I covered. So I didn't need to cut that, but for the others, you're just going to cut maybe an inch so that there's just an inch, maybe 2 inches left. You're gonna be tucking that behind when you hot glue. And at the other end, if you have a long tail, go ahead and trim that down to about an half inch, or excuse me, 1 inch to 2 inches. I'll do the same thing for yellow. Okay, put away all of those extra bits there. Okay, the next step is you're going to take your piece of felt, and if your felt has a little bit of paper on it, don't worry about that because it will be covered. Just make sure that it's not part of some of the stickers I couldn't get off. They were just too sticky, but it shouldn't be a problem. So now what you're going to do is you're going to start with your shortest piece, your shortest yarn-covered corded piece. You're going to use both hands to sort of make a bend in it, so it's part of your beginning of your rainbow. And you're going to place it at the end of your felt so that the uncovered cords are hanging down. The pieces of yarn that are the end pieces of your yarn, you're just going to bring about and make sure that they're not hanging down. Those will be glued behind your first piece. It's going to be a little bit tricky, so if you have to go slow, just take it slow. Okay, so this is how I want my first loop to look. You can, maybe your loop is a little, see how mine has a very strong curve to it? Maybe yours has a slighter curve to it. It's up to you. So you're going to place that there. You're going to place your next one alongside it. What you're doing now is you're just making sure that your rainbow colors are matching up with the end of the felt so that it creates a look of being even before you glue. If you glue it, when you glue it down, it's too late to fix that. So you just what you're doing now is just making sure everything is lining up just right. Okay, the next one. Okay, you actually want to do this process, you can do this process before you trim your yarn if you have more yarn to add. But what I found that is if you are off by a little bit, you can just push up the yarn. Like if this one were extending past this orange color, I would just push the yellow up so that it is then even with it. Okay, now for my final one. Oh, the other thing is you want to make sure the seam is facing down. You don't want that seam up. I had a little bit of a problem here. At the beginning of my loops, I have kind of this loop that's very loose. And if that happens to you, don't worry about it. We're gonna fix that in the gluing process. But what you do wanna make sure is just that all of the seams are going about the right, in the same, see how it's not perfect, but it's about the same, in the same direction, okay? Now I'm gonna place that right there, and that lines up just right, okay. So now you have your rainbow in place. You're going to take a pencil. Looks like I just have a pen, but I would use a pencil. And you're just going to make a little dot to where your first rainbow is. Just make a couple of dots around just so you know where you're gonna glue it, because you're gonna be removing all of these and then gluing them down one at a time. And then the next step is to just kind of make a little dot over around the outer edge, just so you know where your boundaries are. The next step is to carefully move that off of your felt and to begin gluing. You're going to apply hot glue along the seam. So you're going to take your glue gun. Don't burn your fingers, friends. And you're going to squeeze the glue along that seam. Then you're going to hold it with both ends. Twist it so that the glue is facing down towards the felt. Find your dots and place your first rainbow row down. Okay, you want to make sure that seam is facing down. It's nice and upright, just like that. Now you have your ends of your yarn hanging down. You don't want that. You want to pull that behind the rainbow, this first rainbow piece. You want to make sure that is just tucked behind that. Same for this side. You want to make sure that's tucked on the side. It doesn't need to be touching the glue, but you just want it to be tucked there so that when you glue down the next one, it will be hidden. Okay, so now we're on to our next rainbow ridge. You're going to apply the hot glue all along the seam, just like that. Hold one end, hold the other end, stretch it so that it's taut. Twist it so that the glue is aiming downward. Gently start at one side of the felt end and press down gently as you go around your rainbow. Go around that to the other side, okay? Again, you wanna make sure your seams are tucked out of the way. Just gonna make sure, yep, that's fine. Same for this side, I'm gonna pull it so that it's out of the way, all right? Okay, now you know what's next. We're gonna go with the next length of our rainbow. And they're getting longer, so it's getting a little harder to control the, with both hands, control it with both hands. So just do your best. I'm going to just carefully apply hot glue along this seam. Just gonna keep, maybe you wanna just do dots here and there. If you don't wanna do a long strip, grab that end, grab the other end, pull it, twist it, bend it, and now rest it where it's gonna go next in line with your rainbow. Make sure that your tails are tucked up in, just like that. All right, now we're at our last rainbow ridge, okay? And just take it slow, do what you need to do to get it. Maybe you wanna rest it down on the table like that while you're gluing. I support that, I think that's a good idea. That's what I'm gonna do. And you're going to just keep piping that glue along the seam. Okay, hold it with both ends, pull it tight, twist it down. Now, start at the very ridge of the rainbow. This time you're going to pull your seam, your end of your yarn through the middle instead of on the outer side. Just gonna pull that down, press that in, okay? Continue with your ridge all the way around. Make sure that's pulled around the other way. Okay, just like that, oops. In describing this, my glue dried. That's okay. So you get to see my mistakes. And what the beautiful thing about this is, if you make a little bit of a mistake, it's not a big deal. You can pull pull your ridge up, and maybe you just pipe glue along the outer ridge of it. So I'm gonna do it really quick, poof. And now I'm going to place that all the way there. Maybe that's easier. Maybe I've been doing it on the yarn cord the whole time. Maybe you just pipe the glue along the felt like a smart person and then place the rainbow bit down. Okay, well, we're all glued now, and you just want to make sure that it's completely dry. And this is when you're going to trim all of those little bits that are maybe coming out. Okay, I can still see that I've got some gluing to do over here, so I'm going to pipe some in there. Just like that. Look how cute that is. Oh my gosh, it's so cute. I still have this little piece kind of popping up. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put some glue in here, like that, and just guide that so that the yarn is tucked. Okay. Now comes the last few steps. So we're going to now trim away the felt. Be very careful with this part because you don't want to cut your yarn loops. You just want to cut around close to it, but not so close that you're actually gonna cut your rainbow ridge, okay? You should just barely be able to see it. You're not gonna be able to see it when it's hanging. There's that. You're gonna do the same for the inside. Just take it slow. I'm just kind of using this end of my scissors and snipping it as I go, just like that. And I'm just being really careful not to cut the yarn of those loops, but to get close enough to where the felt is not showing that much, okay? Look how cute that is. Okay, the next step is you're going to flip it on the felt side up. You're going to take a little bit of extra yarn that you had. I'm using this pink because it's right here in front of me, but you can trim whatever you have, whatever yarn you have left over. You're going to tie a knot at the end, tie those two ends together so that you have this loop, you've formed a circle, okay? Now you're going to find the center of your rainbow here, apply a dot of glue to it, and place the knot on that dot of glue. So you might make sure that you maybe have a little longish tail so your fingers aren't touching the hot glue, but that your loop is extending past the top of the rainbow, all right? Last step, or not the last step, one of the last steps is you're gonna take a scrap piece of the felt, what you have left over from what you cut away, and you're just going to cut a rectangle or square, whatever size will cover this glue and the knot and make it look pretty. So we're gonna I've got this size here, that's working for me. So now I'm going to just put a little glue around the outside of my square and press it down gently so that it makes it look finished, all right? And there you have your rainbow. Now you're not quite done. You want to unravel the strands that are hanging down, and we're gonna do that really quick. The best way to unravel this uncovered cord, cotton cord, is to start at the base of where your rainbow yarn ends and just use your thumbs and your fingers to just gently pull it apart. It will untwist. They are twisted together, so as you are pulling it apart, it will untwist. So it is a little bit tedious, but just whistle a happy tune and you'll be done in no time. All right, my friends, you are in the home stretch. We are almost done. The last step is to take your ruler and measure this cord that you've unraveled. You want to just kind of measure and gauge where you should trim it. So I'm looking at this, both sides, and it's about 2.5 to 3 inches. This is where the shortest one on this side is, and I'm measuring it, so it's about 3 inches. So I like that length. I think that's a good length. You can have yours longer or shorter or however you want yours. So I'm just going to trim that away like that, so it's nice and even. And then I'm gonna do the same thing for the other side. I wanna make sure it's lined up with this side. So that's why you wanna measure both sides, just to make sure that you don't misgauge, like, oh, this one will work for 3, but oh no, this has to be 2.5, and then you keep shortening. So just make sure that you measure many times before you cut. Okay, so over here I'm looking, and it looks like this is about 3 inches from there. So I don't have a short piece on this side that like is at 3 inches. So I'm just gonna have to start with my ruler in place and just start cutting so that I do have one there. And then once it's cut away, I can see where that guide is. But you'll do your best. Doesn't have to be perfect, just has to look good to you. Okay, and there you have it, your miniature yarn wall hanging. I hope you've enjoyed this DIY craft shop. We'll see you soon. Bye.